Fear rarely begins with a crisis. It usually begins with a single thought that quietly grows until it overshadows everything else. Most people believe Jesus simply told his followers not to be afraid. But what if he actually revealed something far more powerful than advice? What if he spoke to Aramaic words that carried the living experience of peace itself? Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you may understand why fear was never meant to rule your life. For centuries, much of the attention given to the teachings of Jesus focused on translations rather than the living language he actually spoke. Then, in 1945, near Hammadi, in Egypt, an extraordinary discovery brought ancient Christian writings back into public view. Buried for centuries beneath the desert sand, these manuscripts included Gnostic Gospels that were never added to the official Bible. Their discovery renewed worldwide interest in the original language, expressions, and spiritual depth surrounding the ministry of Jesus. They reminded historians and seekers alike that the words spoken by Jesus first echoed through Aramaic, the language of his daily life, his teachings, and his moments of healing. This matters because Aramaic was never understood as a language of information alone. Ancient believers recognized that its sacred sounds carried intention, determination, and living resonance. Words were not merely spoken to communicate ideas, they were spoken to awaken the heart. For this reason, Jesus taught in Aramaic instead of Greek or Hebrew when speaking naturally to the people around him. The sounds themselves were believed to carry spiritual strength. Many traditions describe these sacred expressions as reminders of humanity's original design, reconnecting the listener with the divine image placed within from the beginning. One remarkable expression is enana, pronounced enana, meaning I am, or it is I. It is an expression of living presence, divine identity, conscious being, and immediate existence. More than a declaration, it is an invitation to return to the present moment where fear begins to lose its authority. The world teaches us to prepare for what might happen tomorrow. It encourages constant planning, endless comparison, and quiet anxiety about things that may never become reality. Little by little, the present moment disappears beneath layers of imagined futures. Fear depends on that habit. It cannot grow inside a heart that is fully awake to what is happening now. Instead, it feeds on possibilities, assumptions, and stories that the mind creates long before life unfolds. That is why the teaching behind enana, pronounced enana, meaning I am, reaches far beyond language. It gently calls the heart back to the only place where peace can actually be experienced. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, only now. Imagine standing beside a quiet lake at sunrise. The water reflects the sky perfectly because nothing is disturbing its surface. Yet the moment strong winds arrive, the reflection disappears, even though the sky itself has never changed. Our inner life often works the same way. Fear is like the wind. It disturbs our perception until we believe peace has vanished. But peace has not disappeared. It has only become hidden beneath restless thoughts. Jesus never taught his followers that peace depended on perfect circumstances. He consistently directed them toward a deeper awareness that remained untouched by changing events. That awareness begins with presence. When a frightened person hears bad news, the mind immediately races toward every possible outcome. It imagines losses that have not happened. It creates conversations that have never taken place. It prepares for battles that may never arrive. Every one of those thoughts steals strength from the present moment. That is exactly why inanna, pronounced inanna, meaning I am, carries such quiet authority. It interrupts the endless movement of fear by returning attention to what is real instead of what is imagined. Notice how often Jesus invited people to see what stood directly before them. He healed the person in front of him. He comforted the one who was weeping beside him. He spoke to the heart that was listening in that very moment. His ministry unfolded one living moment at a time. Perhaps this is why so many people search everywhere for peace, but rarely discover it. They search inside tomorrow, while Jesus continually points toward today. The greatest miracle may not be escaping every storm. The greatest miracle may be remaining fully present while the storm passes. And in the next chapter, you will discover why fear was never the true enemy. Something even deeper has been quietly shaping human lives for centuries. If this teaching has opened a new perspective for you, our Aramaic Wisdom Guide can help you continue this journey. After all, true knowledge sets us free. You'll find the link in the comments. And the best is yet to come. In the next chapters, you'll discover what could change everything for you. Most people believe fear begins in the mind. Yet the ancient spiritual tradition surrounding Jesus points to something far more profound. Fear first begins wherever we forget who we truly are. That may sound surprising at first, but consider how a child naturally lives. A child is completely present while laughing, discovering, listening, and trusting. Only later does the habit of constant worry begin to shape the mind. As the years pass, many people slowly replace presence with performance. They begin measuring themselves by success, approval, possessions, or the opinions of others. The farther they move from their true identity, the easier fear finds a place to settle. This is where enana, pronounced enana, meaning I am, becomes far more than beautiful ancient language. It becomes a doorway back to the identity that Jesus continually revealed through his life and his teaching. Notice that Jesus never encouraged people to build their lives upon fear. He called fishermen, tax collectors, ordinary families, and broken hearts into a completely different way of living. Again and again, he invited them to recognize the divine life already working within them. Presence always came before transformation. Recognition always came before restoration. When people lose awareness of who they are before God, they naturally begin searching for security everywhere else. Some seek it through wealth, others through control, others through constant approval from the people around them. Yet none of those pursuits ever produce lasting peace. The reason is simple. Anything that depends on changing circumstances will eventually create new fear. But living presence does not depend on circumstances. It remains available whether the day is easy or difficult. That is why the sound of ina-na, pronounced ana, meaning I am, carries such remarkable spiritual beauty. Every repetition becomes a gentle reminder that your deepest identity cannot be stolen by fear, uncertainty, or the changing seasons of life. Perhaps this is what Jesus wanted his followers to experience all along. Not merely believing that peace exists, but becoming people who carry peace wherever they walk. And what comes next reveals the hidden reason this simple Aramaic expression has remained so powerful across generations, even after 2,000 years. Think about how fear usually works. It almost never attacks the present. Instead, it pulls the mind toward an uncertain tomorrow, or traps it inside yesterday's pain. It survives by convincing us to abandon the only place where life is actually unfolding. When Jesus approached his frightened disciples during the storm, recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14, his first response was not to explain the waves or calm the wind. He first revealed his presence. Before peace entered their hearts, they recognized who stood before them. That changes everything, because peace was never presented as the absence of storms. Peace was presented as the presence of Jesus within them, even while the storm continued around them. That is why inana, pronounced inanar, meaning I-in, continues to carry such profound spiritual beauty. It reminds us that fear cannot dominate the heart that has awakened to living presence. There is a reason fear speaks so loudly when life becomes uncertain. It knows that a distracted heart is easier to control than a peaceful one. The more attention it captures, the more it convinces us that it is telling the truth. But Jesus revealed another way. Instead of allowing fear to define reality, he continually invited people to return to what was eternally true. He never denied that difficulties existed. He simply refused to let them become the center of a person's identity. That difference changes everything. When fear becomes our identity, every challenge feels permanent. Every disappointment appears final. Every unanswered question becomes another reason to lose hope. But when presence becomes our identity, circumstances lose their power to define us. This is why enana, pronounced anana, meaning I am, carries such extraordinary depth. The words quietly remind the heart that who you are is greater than what you are facing. Imagine a lamp burning inside a dark room. Darkness may fill every corner, but it can never extinguish the light simply by existing. The light remains itself. It continues shining because that is its nature. The human spirit was never designed to live beneath constant fear. It was created to reflect divine peace. Every time you remember the living presence taught by Jesus, you strengthen that inner light. Little by little, fear begins losing the authority it once seemed to possess. The circumstances may remain the same, but the person facing them becomes completely different. That transformation rarely happens in one dramatic moment. It grows through countless small decisions to return again and again to presence instead of panic. Each return weakens fear. Each return strengthens peace. Each return reminds the heart that inanna, pronounced inanna, meaning I am, is not simply something to understand. It is something to live. Perhaps this is why the message of Jesus continues transforming lives across generations. His invitation was never limited to a particular century or culture. It reaches every person who longs to live free from the tyranny of fear. Right now, if you're ready to go beyond translations and discover the original depth of Jesus' teachings, our Aramaic Wisdom Guide is waiting for you. True knowledge sets us free. The link is in the comments. As we reach the end of this journey, one important question still remains. If peace has always been available, why do so many sincere people continue living under the weight of fear? Perhaps the answer is simpler than we imagine. Many people spend their lives trying to change the world around them before allowing transformation to happen within them. They wait for perfect conditions before choosing peace. But Jesus demonstrated the opposite. He carried peace into storms. He carried peace into conflict. He carried peace into uncertainty. His peace did not depend on the world agreeing with him. It flowed from an inner awareness that nothing outside could remove. That same invitation remains alive today. Every anxious thought gives you a choice. You can follow fear into another imagined future, or you can gently return to enana, pronouns enana, meaning I am, allowing your awareness to rest once again in the present moment. This simple practice does not ignore life's responsibilities. Instead, it changes the place from which you face them. Decisions become clearer. Relationships become gentler. The heart becomes quieter. Even difficult seasons begin to lose their power to dominate your thoughts. This is not because life suddenly becomes easy. It is because presence becomes stronger than fear. Perhaps the greatest hidden miracle of the Aramaic teachings is this. They do not ask us to escape life. They invite us to awaken within it. And once that awakening begins, peace slowly becomes your natural way of walking through the world. We have only begun uncovering the richness hidden within the original words of Jesus. Every Aramaic expression opens another doorway into the living wisdom he shared with those who gathered around him centuries ago. Transformation does not happen by repeating beautiful words. It grows through faithful practice, lived one day at a time, for the next 7 mornings, before looking at your phone or beginning your daily routine. Find a quiet place where you can breathe without rushing. Close your eyes for a few moments. Take a slow, gentle breath. Then softly speak anana, pronouns enana, meaning I am the living presence, divine identity, conscious being, and immediate existence. Repeat ianena 7 times. After each repetition, pause for one full breath. Do not hurry. Allow the meaning to become more important than the sound itself. As you continue breathing, quietly remind yourself that peace is not something you must chase. It is something you awaken to when your attention returns to the present moment, where Jesus continually invited his followers to live. During the day, whenever anxiety begins to rise, stop for a single breath before reacting. Speak enan, not pronounced anana, meaning I am. Let those ancient words interrupt fear before fear begins directing your thoughts. Over time, this simple daily rhythm can become more than a habit. It can become a new way of living, one rooted in awareness, one rooted in trust, one rooted in the quiet presence that no storm can take away. Just a quick reminder, the transformation guides for a fuller life are waiting for you, right there in the comments. Before you leave, if this message touched your heart or brought new understanding into your life, WRITE. The word restoration in the comments below. Your testimony may encourage someone else who is seeking healing and renewal. Thank you for sharing this moment of ancient wisdom with us. Until the next revelation, walk in peace, walk in freedom, and walk in the power of Enana.